Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of StarSound Speaks, episode 170. This is your host, Irlianna Samsara with StarSound Astrology. So your weekly forecast for this week of June 12th through the 19th. So we have Monday, June 13th. Happy Monday, everybody. Mercury is back in its sign, its home sign of Gemini to start our work week. Yay. After taking a sojourn in half of the retrograde was in Taurus, not the worst thing in the world, but it's back in domicile. So what does that mean? Well, Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo, and when it's in its home sign, it does very well, the best it can do. So so this will give us a wonderful kind of newness and a lot of spirited energy around all of anything with buying, selling, promotion, advertising, our thoughts, our attitudes, writing, teaching, learning, especially learning and exploring new places, new ideas, being curious and open-minded. That's going to take it's going to be enable more of that in the next few weeks as it moves through the sign of Gemini. So it'll be back in its wonderful home place where it's very comfortable. And so all of those activities are going to be, everything that had been waiting and on hold for so long with retrograde, where we stepped back and looked at things from the big picture and we're slowed down in our communications and in moving ahead with, say, promotions and networking and such and connecting. Now we have this renewed vision, having been to the top of the mountain, and we are now taking our ideas and our inspirations and moving them forward out in the world. So we'll find a lot more impetus for that in the weeks to come. So anyway, that's that. So that's technically today, June 13th. June 14th, Tuesday, we have our full moon. So this week we have a couple of interesting things that I'm going to talk about. The full moon in Sagittarius. Before I do, just to say too that speaking of which, that's the day that I'm starting or reconnecting where I had been teaching years ago, BC, before COVID. And anyway, I'm teaching a mini course, 5 weeks. And it's going to be on how to read your birth chart. Very simple, easy, jump on, people who have a little bit knowledge of astrology that are enough to make them dangerous. Or if you have none, you're all levels welcome, but it'll definitely give you a leg up and have you be more comfortable and familiar with your chart. So whether you get readings from astrologers like myself or anybody, or listen to astrology podcasts and videos, you'll have more of a comfort zone with all that and a deeper understanding. And if you do see an astrologer, you're just more plugged in, and or just want to learn astrology. It's got to start somewhere, right? And so I make it fun and easy and all that. So it's Tuesday. You just go to the website, you'll see all the details. So it'll be mixing the ancient and the modern together and giving everybody just the basic tools to start driving that car, or that spaceship, we should say. After all, it's astrology. Anyway, that's at starsoundastrology.com. So you can go ahead and take a look at that. All right, so back to this week. So Tuesday, the full moon in Sag. So for anybody who is a Sagittarius sun, this is the full moon of your year. This is the fruition of what you had started back in late November to late December. This full moon is at 23 degrees of Sagittarius and 25 minutes. And the full moon, for the rest of us mortals, the full moon is when things come to fruition. The moon, of course, being our emotions, it's our connection with the material realm. And in terms of a lunation cycle, we started, of course, the new moon in Gemini. And when the full moon comes around, it's the opposite sign. So we are balancing and integrating these parts of ourselves, the Gemini curious mind and intellect. The Sagittarius is that when you think about Jupiter being the lord of this eclipse, Jupiter ruling Sag, Jupiter representing, you think of like priests or priestesses or, prophets and intuitives and the oracle, right? And it's that divinely inspired, arbiter, the one who dispenses law, and what is just, what is right, what is true. These are all the archetypes of Sagittarius. So these are all coming into play. And during the full moon, of course, Jupiter, the bringer, as Gustav Holst's suite, the Mercury, the planets suite. It's a famous symphony called The Planets. And Jupiter, the bringer of jollity, is the name of the musical. Each of his of the symphony, each planet has its own song, which is literally true. But anyway, Jupiter, the bringer of jollity. That's the name of Gustav Holst's piece for Jupiter. And so when you think of Jupiter, jollity, confidence, optimism, hope, certainly, literally like reaching for the stars. And so all of these qualities are going to be coming into play with this full moon. Of course, with the full moon in Sag, you're always going to have that spirituality, occult knowledge, esoteric knowledge, and wisdom and philosophy. These are all Jupiterian kind of foreign travels, foreign cultures. Long distance travel can be, traveling to the stars. If you're restricted right now, difficult to travel, expensive with gas, you can travel on another plane, right? Another plane. Oh, didn't mean to. What was that? What do they call that? Unintended pun. Anyway, you get the picture. So this full moon is definitely going to be, bringing us some very interesting experiences. We're going to take a moment here and see what is kind of like the features of this particular full moon. For one thing, it's conjunct a fixed star called Ras al-Hag. I think I'm pronouncing it right. It's an Arabic name. The fixed stars are in Arabic names, owing to the legacy of astrology having passed into, after the fall of the Roman Empire, the astrology was kept alive for hundreds of years in the Arabic world, and they developed it further. So these stars, fixed stars, have Arab names, and so Ras al-Hag is called. It is translated as the head of the serpent, and so this particular fixed star has to do with healing wounds, healing, teaching, wounding. Bernadette Brady speaks about this in her book on fixed stars. And so, when you think about it, this could be a lot of opportunity and hope, faith, optimism for healing. I think of reparations. Maybe with Sagittarius ruling organized religion, there could be some healing that comes to the surface. Emotions may be at a peak around our, maybe there is some area of that maybe we were wounded by religion, for example, and some of us growing up having some difficult experiences. So that might provide a great opportunity where things come to a surface to be healed and repaired. Any kind of reparation. I noticed too, one of the features here is that the moon is going to be overcoming. It's making a very positive connection with Saturn in Aquarius retrograde. So we are with the Saturn retrograde, which I have developed into it. It's in another video, previous one here. I think it's episode 168, Saturn retrograde in Aquarius, what to expect. Take a look at that if you haven't. But I'll get into that in deeper detail there. I do get into that. But this one, with the full moon making that very positive connection with Saturn, it's like, this is an opportunity for us to, when I think about the rights and the law and doing what is just, doing what is the right thing, a mix of that with ancient wisdom, prophecy, intuition, all these Jupiterian concepts, making that positive connection onto Saturn and Aquarius. It's like we're taking these months with Saturn retrograde to look back and see what kind of foundation do we want to lay for ourselves in our own life, our structure of reality, and also in our society at large, in the macro, and what kind of reality structure do we want to live by. And so we could use this full moon in Sag to infuse ourselves with our greatest hopes and the greatest confidence and enthusiasm and blessing and divine blessing, to infuse that with, as we are building and considering what kind of foundation we want. So this would be a great opportunity for that. What you want to look out for is, you know, any kind of, you know, we don't want to get right about it, you know, arrogance and a sense of entitlement or shadow Sag concepts. So with the full moon, of course, very emotional time, we might get a little too zealous. We might get a little too bossy, you know, that Sag thing. I'm my dad, God rest his soul, you know, bossy, yes, you know, and impatient, you know, immediately, if not sooner, you know, come on, hurry up, hurry up. So my boss, my boss's boss, my first boss out of college, my boss's boss, God, on Madison Avenue, he used to say, that was his favorite line, immediately, if not sooner. Well, it was the 80s in New York. Everything was immediately, if not sooner. But that's a Sag thing too. Never did, wasn't into astrology at that time, but I'm sure he had some kind of Jupiterian thing going on that was prominent in his chart. But anyway, we're all going to be dealing with that on Tuesday with this new moon. And we're already feeling it, of course, as we build to the full moon. But anyway, so yes, showering down blessings and hope and optimism would be in store, you know, as we think about how can we improve ourselves and our future, uplift and improve and make whole. But we also want to look out for overextending ourselves, being arrogant, being impatient, doing things excessively, overdoing it, you know, blowing our wallet, you know, or going to Las Vegas and blowing it all at the casinos, you know. That would be a Sag thing, you know. Oh my God, what happened? That's not exactly good for what's to come. But anyway, yeah, anything inflation, over promising, maybe our emotions might get the better of us in a full moon, and those are the areas that might, you know, bubble up. So just to be aware. All right, enough about that. I want to say too that Mars, as this is happening, here is the screen, by the way. Here is the full moon in Sag. So as you can see, here it is in 23 degrees, and there's that sextile, the overcoming sextile to Sagittarius, I mean to Saturn. And then Mars, as you notice here, Jupiter, which is the host of this lunation, this full moon, the full moon is Jupiter is in the sign of Aries. So it's mighty muscular, right? Let's, you know, that's when you really have to be careful about, you know, my will, you know, might makes right and my way or the highway, you know, when it was, Mars has since passed that point, which obviously, as we saw in very tragically in the news with the school shootings and such, where that was to its excess and not in a very integrated form. When archetypes are not integrated fully within us, then the shadow, you know, emerges, and of course that would be in this case violence. But in the case of the new moon, full moon, with Jupiter as its host in the sign of Aries, yes, it's giving us and it's, you know, it's giving us a lot of impetus for encouragement to be ourselves, our unique, authentic selves. And as you can see here with Mars in an exact conjunction with Chiron, yes, this healing around being worthy and that we are enough and we can stand up and forge a new identity for ourselves that is powerful and life affirming, you could say, with that Mars Chiron, you know, healing these wounds, healing the ego wounds, you know, how have we messed up ourselves and others? We could be a light for ourselves and a light for others, using that, the fiery energy of Mars to forge, what's that biblical saying, like your swords, beat your swords into plowshares? I've never, you know, I am certainly not a biblical scholar by any means whatsoever, but I do remember that one line, beat your swords into plowshares. It's like, you know, don't do damage with swords, right? Aries rules blades. but blades and knives and such and spears, but take that and use it in a very proactive way that is going to help others. So that is a very strong theme for this full moon. As you can see here also, the planet Ceres, minor planet. Ceres is the planet that is about nurturing. So the word cereal comes from the etymology of the word cereal. Cereal, not cereal like a television show, it's cereal like what you eat for breakfast, that with a C. Ceres, cereal. And this represents the goddess. It's nurturing, it's agriculture. And I notice here that for the this full moon, it is the USA chart is 13 Cancer. So this series this week is conjoining the sun of the United States of America. And so these themes are very prominent in our society this week for nurturing, and for everybody, but it's certainly very, it's a loud conversation. Moon, right? The moon is ruling us, the moon, the goddess of healing and comfort and security. Issues of those things are very much coming up for us as Ceres is in the sign of Cancer. It is also going to be conjoining the fixed star Sirius, which is the brightest. I'm serious about this. Ceres and Sirius, and the brightest star in the heavens. You can always, it's extremely bright. It's the size of like a gazillion suns, And anyway, of course, our sun in the USA was conjunct Sirius. What? Must be an accident, Yeah, right. Tell that to Benjamin Franklin. Anyway, so this again is that's a very cosmic connection with Sirius. That this whole notion about I would say nurturing from these higher dimensions of light and our star connections, bringing in that higher octave would be very really powerful for us to engage with this week. So Thursday, so that's the full moon. And then Thursday, June 16th, we have Venus is conjunct the North Node. So what is the North Node? Well, this is the impulse, this is the desire and impulse of where we collectively and personally want to move into. So the nodes in Taurus and Scorpio, of course, anywhere where you have the nodes is where you have your eclipses. And so Venus conjunct the North Node is like saying, it's like the universe is saying, lean in and embrace your sensual self, your connection with earth, with nature, take pleasure and joy and celebrate, comforts and good food, comfort food and comfort, warm, fuzzy connection, friendships, relationships, beauty, nature, food. Again, did I say food? Food, as I have this bag of chocolate, GMO-free, allergen-free, not gluten-free chips, mini chips, chocolate chips. Yes, so embrace, right? Embrace good sweets. Venus rules sweets. No wonder I've been stuffing my face. Well, that's my excuse. No, I'm just always dealing with that. But anyway, so yeah, lean into creature comforts, lean into these things. Yes, and just 2 days later, on Saturday, June 18th, Venus is going to be coming into a square with Saturn. And so Saturn overcoming, that is the overcoming dominant energy. They're both in domicile, so they're both strong, but Saturn as the overcoming planet is going to have more of a heavy hand. Now, not so much because it's retrograde, so it's a little bit softer, but I would say this is definitely where we're feeling, yes, we want so much to connect with others and to have quality relationships, authentic sharing, and we want to be mature. I think about Venus is also about pleasure seeking and hedonism. So the term that came up for me, the first term, Venus square Saturn, it's like mature hedonism. Like, it's okay to seek pleasure, but let's just be mature about it. Let's be big boys and girls and not go crazy. Let's think about the earth too. Like, let's take a higher view of this, of what constitutes pleasure, and let's have it also be about long-lasting pleasure, like a beautiful, maybe something that happens over time or regenerates. Maybe there were woundings around emotional distance that get healed. Like, this is an opportunity to get some healing there, and to put some space there where we look at that big picture and go, wow, have I been chasing relationships that, maybe I've been having to feel like I have to conform to be accepted? That might be a conversation that comes up. Or do I need to be, or do I use people? Do I use people to be like cold and calculated and like a conquest kind of thing? Am I using people to get ahead socially? And how's that working out for me? Do I feel like that my sense of duty and obligation, is that outweighing the fun and games and having fun and allowing myself to feel and enjoy pleasure and comfortable social connections? Do I feel a sense of coldness or distance or disconnect? But the good, where we can use it positively, is to create, with wisdom and patience and introspection, that we could create long-lasting relationships, pleasure that extends. So it's not just this quick self-gratification thing. It can be, how do we create and how do we structure into our lives pleasure on an ongoing basis that extends to, think of Saturn with time, how that can extend over time. Quality relationships, long-standing, committed, quality relationships, without and what do we sacrifice for that? Or what do we have to sacrifice in order to create that? And so these are just things to think about. Maybe there's loneliness that forces us to open our hearts, we think of where have we been cut off from ourselves, and how can we mend that fence, and put some healthy boundaries around relationships, and take walls down that don't need to be there. So that would be, that'll be really more prominent toward the end of the week by Saturday. Saturday, it will extend into the weekend. We have Juneteenth is coming, next Sunday, June 19th. And that is when, slavery was abolished, right? So there's this whole feeling about reparation and healing. That's a really big concept and ideas for this week, especially with this new moon, full moon. And just that with Mars Chiron and Ceres, it's a really prominent conversation around healing and feeling ourselves, and feeling, standing up and feeling authentically connected to ourselves, to others, and relationships, and feeling, that sense of, with that full moon in Sag, can bring a lot of optimism and hope for all of these subjects. So yeah, that's all I just wanted to say this week. I hope that's helpful for you, and I hope you all have a wonderful, really fantastic week. And we will see you next time. Okay. Thank you all so much for listening. This is Irlianna Samsara, StarSound Speaks, starsoundastrology.com. See you soon. Bye for now.